Welcome to the Lazy CEO Podcast, where Jim Schleckser, author of Great CEOs Are Lazy and founder of the CEO Project, features compelling experts and topics for CEOs of mid to large-size companies. Now, let's get started with the show.
Welcome, everybody, to another Lazy CEO podcast. My name is Jim Schleckser. I'm your host and the founder of the CEO Project. Well, today we've got sort of lessons from the field. We have one of our CEO Project members been with us a number of years. We have Mike Melo. Mike is currently the Chief Executive Officer at ITA International, which he co-founded with his wife, Kathy, in 2023. They were awarded their first government contract for one full-time employee in 2005, and now they have over 300 full and part-time employees in 20 states, the U.S., overseas, Middle East. They provide data integrated services for operational support, marine engineering, data analytics for customers that conduct global operations, primarily government contracting type of stuff. Mike was served active duty for over 23 years as a surface warfare officer in the U.S. Navy. Upon retiring, he was director of the Virginia Troops to Teachers program prior to founding ITA. He's on a bunch of different boards. He's a huge Virginia Tech supporter. He received his bachelor's degree in forestry from Virginia Tech, and he got his master's degree from Old Dominion University. So, Mike, welcome.
Can you hear me?
There we go.
Yeah, okay,
hey, Mike.
Sorry. I would say thanks for having me on board. I appreciate the opportunity to tell the ITA story. So.
Yeah, love it. So, always we love to go back to the beginning. You did your stint in the Navy. Awesome. Appreciate that. Went into more of a non-profit-y type of environment. What made you decide, hey, boys and girls, I'm going to start a company? Or, hey, my wife, right? You said, hey, what do you say we start a company? What caused you to decide to do that?
Well, to be honest with you, Jim, I'd always wanted to start a company. I've been reading Inc. magazine since I was a lieutenant in the Navy.
Oh, nice.
And I knew that when I retired from the Navy, I was going to start my own company. And so, Kathy and I, went through those processes. I retired, went to work as a state employee for the state of Virginia with the Troops to Teacher. But in the back of my mind, I always wanted to start a company. I had several opportunities to go into government service, but I decided to stay at ODU, start the company, and one person, 1 year, one contract, and that was me. So that's always.
Oh, you were the contractor? You were the one employee?
I was the CEO. I was the CFO. I was the direct work employee. And you think about it. I was I was working at ODU, so I was a state employee. A buddy of mine called me up and said, "I can give you this contract, and it's for 1 year for one person." I remember coming out and telling Kathy, "Hey, Kathy, we finally got the opportunity," because it took me 2 years to get that contract. Okay.
Wow.
And we have this opportunity. So I'm a lead state employee. My oldest daughter, Caitlin, was a senior in high school. We leveraged her college fund to start this thing. Oof. And then it just took off from there. But Kathy and I both took that leap of faith to start ITA. And it's been an incredible journey from the beginning. And within 6 months, we had 20 employees. And, I was still direct work for the first 3 years and, running a company and all those kind of things. I remember our first DCA audit, they came to me in 2007. And, so they're going over my records, and she comes to me and says, "Oh, you can't do this. You have 20 hours. You work this day." And I says, it was a whole week at 20 hours because I just won a contract. So I was doing the running a company at the same time doing direct work. And I said, I did work that. And so I showed her my little calendar and it had all my hours on it. And she says, "You did work 20 hours. And I told Kathy, I says, that's because she's a GS employee. They're used to working 8 hours a day. Businesses, it's 24/7, 365 days a year job. And so
absolutely. Weekends are work days, right?
Exactly right. Yeah. So, and I love it. I love running this company. And so it's been a lot of fun.
that leap of faith and the kind of the 20-year overnight success is a pretty typical story, right? You know, you're like, people go, look at how amazing they're doing. You go, yeah, there were days I was a little worried about how we're going to pay the mortgage and cover college and, you know.
Exactly. Well, Kathy, that first year we were in business, we used to tell the story is, Kathy would be going to Costco and she said, hey, Mike, I'm going to Costco. Can I write a check? And I said, okay, we've made payroll. We're good to go. You can go to Costco and buy the food. And we kept our girls, they were in private school. Their lifestyle did not change. And Kathy and I made sacrifices, but our commitment was to make sure that the girls were not impacted. But we wanted to grow this company. And we wanted to grow this company in a way that was conducive with our philosophies and beliefs, which we've been very lucky to be able to do that so far.
Well, why don't we dig into that? Because I know you have a strong culture in the company and you work hard to manage that. Tell us a little bit about what is that culture and how do you maintain it, maintain the strength of the culture so it doesn't get diluted?
Yeah, that's a great question, Jim. It's interesting because I was listening to you before you came on board and talking about the CEO project, and I'm a big fan. I remember I met you in 2010, our first time on the Inc. 500, and it was a great experience. And the CEO project's been good for me. We're a smaller company within those groups, but they always help me to grow this. But one of the things that Kathy and I learned early on is the people I start with are not the people I'm going to end with.
Yeah, which is hard, right? That's hard.
It is. It is. I've had really a lot of people that have been very loyal to ITA. They believe in our philosophy and how we want to run a company. And so as we grow this company and we change out and we do those kind of elements that you have to do, it's very tough to maintain the culture. And, one thing that Kathy and I do every year is we call it the Christmas tour. And so we actually go around and visit all of our sites with all of our people. From Thanksgiving to Christmas, we're out visiting people. We walk in and we have flashcards, so we know everybody's name when we walk in. And so the people at ITI have a personal connection with Mike and Kathy Melo. Okay. And we are the face of the company and we talk about it. We have a strategic communicator in the company that helps me take my thoughts and puts them into English because, they always laugh around here if they see something that has misspellings, that doesn't use punctuation properly, all those kind of things. That didn't come from Mike. Okay.
Yeah.
But the philosophy behind it. So we have found in an organization like ITA, and like you said, we're in 6 foreign countries and 20 different states. It's really tough to maintain that culture.
Yeah.
And so by this constant communication from the headquarters, and it's not just one path. It's not just email. We have an internal chat site. We have an Instagram site. We have a Twitter site, an X site, all those different paths because people have different ways they communicate. And so we want to focus that and bring that out to the company. And we want to maintain a personal relationship. And a good analogy I heard the other day, and I really like it, is as you grow your business, it is a family-owned business. Both of my girls are in the company. Kathy and I have been running this thing for 19 years now. But I like an analogy that we should treat it almost like a professional sports team, a family-owned professional sports team, because you have great players that helped you win the Super Bowl, whatever. But as they get, I don't want to say get older, but as your offense change, your defense change, you got to change players out, and we try to do it in a way that allows us to grow the company but respects our people. And that's how we maintain that. People believe in what Mike and Kathy say because we talk about it all the time, and our actions do that. And when the most times I've been upset in this company, when we treat people like a commodity versus a valuable asset to the company that drives our economic engine. And so that's how we maintain in that culture. So
that's great. And and I think that family feel that like you're part of a community is a big part of that culture. And for some people that works, some people it doesn't work, but we always talk about patriots and mercenaries, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Mercenaries come for the money and they'll leave for a little more money, but patriots love what you're doing and they're going to stick around and pay me fair and I'm good to go, right?
Yeah.
It sounds like you got a lot of patriots.
Oh, we do, and I have a lot of people that believe in what we're trying to do as a company. In the GovCon space, it's real interesting. You know, I call us a tweener now. So we're between being a small business and a large business in GovCon, which is a very precarious
No,
position.
it's tough because you're open competition against the giants, right?
Yes, and I always tell, out of 110,000 companies, there's probably 1,500 companies that are our size. Okay. And so we have to survive. And so we're committed to doing that. And we have several paths to get there. But our people believe that we can build a company that operates in the GovCon space, that treats people like people, not commodities, and that we can grow a business that's successful and really helps the government solve complex problems. Yeah. And that's what we're trying to do. And it's real interesting. I talk about the journey. One person, 1 year, one contract is where we started. We were a training company. Okay. We won the Oasis contract and we branched into, professional services on site. We were doing that. And now we've integrated technology into our professional services offerings. And so we keep transitioning. And I think the companies that I've seen that have trouble is, as the marketplace changes, as your dynamics change, as you grow and you get into a different pool that you're operating in, you have to adjust. And, I'm very emotionally attached to our employees. Okay. But I realize that we have to keep adjusting as we grow the company, and we've been able to do this. I always laugh. We have a picture in our office, and I try to talk to people. Everybody thinks A to B, it's a straight line, and it just goes like gangbusters. It's ups and downs, and downs. As long as that curve's going up, you're good. Okay. And as long as you have more money coming in than going out, you're good. It's pretty simple business is.
Simple business, right?
It's simple. But we're doing that as an organization, and people believe in Mike and Kathy Melo. I think and they use those words synonymous, Jim, Mike and Kathy Melo.
Yeah, you're like one person. Now, a lot of entrepreneurs think about possibly an exit someday, right? We're not getting any younger, and there may be a point that we might want to exit. Do you think about, given that you and your wife are so central to the culture and the feeling of the company, that may inhibit your ability to do that someday? Or is the view that it's going to be multi-generational, my daughters will take over, how do you think about, is there an exit? How do we transition from such a iconic set of leaders, that are running the company?
Right. Yeah. That's a challenge. And Kathy and I talk about it all the time. We have a plan right now. I'm 67 and a half. I'll plan to work until I'm 70. Okay. So, we want to build a family-owned business. Okay. And we are going to transition from owner-operators to owners. Okay. The family will be a board that runs this company, so that the philosophies and the beliefs that ITA has built upon will stay within the company. The board of directors will be family members with some outside leadership. And that's how we plan on growing this company. So we're in the process of doing that transition. We'll probably do it over the next couple of years. It's interesting because, again, your podcast before this, I think there's three kinds of CEOs. Okay. There's the founder, owner CEO that starts the company and builds it up. There's a transition CEO, and there's a professional CEO.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, those professional CEOs come in with a different mindset. But I think you can find a professional CEO that's aligned with our philosophy, and you might grow them internally. You might have to bring them from outside. But a founder owner CEO is really different than a professional CEO.
Oh gosh. Absolutely. 100%.
And so, and to get to a certain point, it's going to exceed my, management capabilities. Mm-hmm. But I think us as a company, Kathy and I will still provide that vision and value. The family members will do that, and we'll bring in professionals that help us manage this organization and move forward. So that's sort of our transition plan. Yeah. You and I have talked about, I think we talked about it at the CEO project one time, when you were with us down in Atlanta. And so our philosophy has evolved. And to be honest with you, Jim, our CEO project, with those guys, there's a combination of owner operators, multi-generational owners, professional CEOs that grew up in an organization. I saw Mark Cabrera talked a couple of weeks ago.
Yep.
That dynamics are diversity of thought has really helped me develop, my thoughts and my transition plan as we move forward. So that's the benefit of the CEO project.
Nice. Yeah. And Mark is a professional manager that came into a family business, and
Yep.
he's doing a great job for the family, basically. So it certainly can work if you get the right individual. So you did just culture and acquisitions. You did an acquisition a couple of years ago, a tech company, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And that's always challenging when you got a strong culture and you bring another company and you try to put them together. How'd you work through that process? What would be some tips you'd give to somebody who was trying to buy and is worried about merging cultures? What would be your tips to another CEO? Because you've done this.
Yeah, I have. We've actually made 3 acquisitions. One, we just bought some technology for the company of a company that had gone out of business.
Yeah, that's a little easier. I mean, when you bring people, right?
Yeah, it is. The other one was the one that you talked about, IDI, we bought about in 2020, and we bought another one last year that was a small little research company out of Blacksburg. And, it's real interesting when you go through due diligence. Yeah, our cultures are totally aligned, but then when you get into execution and integration, you realize there are some nuances that are different. And I think it still goes back to that story of that constant communication of Kathy and I telling the story, of our girls telling the story, Caitlin and Meredith, of our strategic communicator telling the story. And it probably takes 2 or 3 years to transition from the people having that company to that and integrated completely into ITA. And we've been able to do that. But those are small companies. If we bought a larger company, I think it'd be much more difficult. But what I have found is that integration piece is critical in that communication. I'm a big believer, Jim, in communications, both internal and external. And that communication is different, and you got to keep telling that same story all the time. And the people that are in the new company coming into ITA have to see that Kathy and I and Caitlin and Meredith all make the decisions the same way, and this is how they believe in what we say. And I think that the companies that we've had integrated into ITA, they've those nuanced differences have slowly evolved into they're totally aligned with what we're doing. But again, those are small, and so we're still looking at acquisitions right now to help us grow. And as we transition from a simply professional services to technology-enabled professional services, the companies we bought are all technology companies, small companies that keep adding to our capability and help redefine us in the marketplace. And that is a big. So you think about it, Jim, we're transitioning from the small to large in GovCon. We're transitioning the branding of ITA as a professional services technology and professional service. And we're trying to build out an organization that can manage this company as we grow. So there's a lot of challenges that we're facing, but that's all part of business. I always say business is hard. If it was easy, everybody would do it.
Absolutely. But, well, particularly entrepreneurship. It's not for everybody, right? I've used the line in prior conversations. I go, the definition of an entrepreneur is somebody who's willing to work 80 hours a week so he doesn't have to work for somebody else 40 hours a week. We're like, but that's about right, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And here's Kathy gave me, she gave me this quote I have in my offices. An entrepreneur works like nobody else, so he can't live like nobody else can. And he just builds something. And I believe we built a great organization, and I believe our company is aligned with that. And we have challenges. It's not easy. And always in 2014, we got hit with sequestration. It crushed us, and we went down, and we resurrected ourselves to move forward. We're in that same kind of thing. That transition from small to large creates its own challenges, and we're surviving those challenges as we move forward. And he just, Kathy and I believe that ITA will get through this. We believe that we'll grow this company, and we're moving in the right path. We actually have, right after this, I have a call with an all hands call with the company talking about the reorganization, because we're flattening it out. We're getting rid of business units. We are going to reallocate resources to growth in the company and all the things that you got to do to grow the company. And that's what Kathy and I have decided to do.
So when you're in the tweener position in GovCon, you're now competing with the giants, right? SAIC and all the big guys and gals.
Yep.
I've
Yep.
found that the ones that make it figure out how to do a couple of things better than anybody else on the planet. So
Yep.
it gets away when you talk about value in the contract on the procurement side, you go, look, you can't get what I do for you anywhere else. And it's not really about price anymore. So what
Right.
do you guys do to try to build that uniqueness, that stickiness into your business so that somebody can't roll in and go, yeah, I can do that $1 an hour cheaper. I'll just do it for you. What's your differentiation that causes you to win against some of these big guys?
Well, it's interesting because those acquisitions we made,
Yeah.
we started in 2017, was the start of our transition to a technology company. And so we have used the Small Business Innovative Research Program within the
Yep.
department, or within the U.S. government. We have several Silver Threes. We're actually building an ITA analytics platform
Nice.
that you can put modules on. We've built one for maintenance, and the Navy wants to take that and build it out across the entire state's Navy. We're building one for running a wing in the Air Force, and so we're building these modules to help operational readiness of the DoD and DHS. The only place you can get that is from ITA.
Got it.
Okay. So, that's the stickiness that we're trying to create. And I believe that you can, if you have the right tools, and we're a technology and professional service company, you can actually provide a service to the government with fewer FTEs at a higher price with better quality people, because you're augmenting that subject matter expertise that you have in the organization with the technology that we have in our technology group. You merge those together, and you can really solve some complex problems for the government at probably a lower price with higher paid people, because you're paying for that technology insertion that really helps you
Yeah.
grow the company.
Yeah, that's different than the whole butts and seats and let's throw people
Yeah.
at the problem. It's
Yes.
throw technology and really smart people at the problem. It's a different approach. And I
Yeah.
love the data ownership too and data involvement, because when it comes for rebid time, you go, well, you could pull our whole system out if you want to, but
Yeah.
good luck, right? I mean, it makes the recompete a lot easier as well, I think.
Yeah, and we just lost the contract down
Yeah.
at an Air Force base, and they think, oh, we're just going to replace us with people, but they're not going to have the technology that we have. And I think, that's going to come back, and they're going to come back to us and say, hey, we really need this thing. Can we bring it back to us? And we'll be glad to come back and help them, because I think they're not going to be able to accomplish the things they want to without the tools that we built for them.
Yeah.
And so that's how we build that stickiness.
That's
Okay.
nice. I'm always tempted when somebody comes back like that, say, oh, sure, but the price doubled. I'm so sorry. But you're so tempted to say that to people, right?
Yeah. So,
You'll never
but
dump me again. um,
yeah.
Fun. So you're a big Virginia Tech fan, right? How are you involved with the university?
Well, I'm on the Virginia Tech Foundation Board of Directors, and I'm on the Virginia Tech Athletic Fund Board of Directors.
Oh, nice.
It's interesting. The foundation's been great for me, because as the foundation, we look at the entire university and all the research going on. And so not only are I'm a big fan of Virginia Tech because that's where I got my degree from, but they have $600 million worth of research going on every year. And they have some great stuff that we can bring to the customer. In fact, we're going up there. We have a team going up Tuesday of next week to talk with them about some research they're doing that solves a complex problem for the Navy. And, so we're going to bring this research technology with ITA and data analytics to the government to solve that problem for us. And so not only do I have an emotional connection to Virginia Tech, there's a lot of opportunities that we can leverage the piece. And so when you look at a small business transition into large,
Yep.
The credibility in the marketplace. But if you have somebody like Virginia Tech and ITA partnering together, that gives you a lot more credibility with the GovCon space. And so it's some unique characteristics, all those things you bring together. And so it's been very successful for us. That company I bought in Blacksburg last year. Last year. It's well connected within the research pieces of Virginia Tech. I have, my chief operating officer is working out of there. He's connected. He is well connected across the university. So it really allows us to to reshape the conversation about ITA being a technology-enabled professional services company.
Yeah. Well, and I love, taking university research and commercializing it, because they're just horrible at it. They're great at coming up with ideas, but commercializing it, not so much. They really need somebody like you to take it to market.
Well, it's interesting, Jim, because you mentioned I was at ODU for 3 years before I started the company, and I almost left after the year point. I got offered a job as a GS-14 Step 5, working anti-terrorism force protection for the Navy, and I went in and told the dean I was leaving. He says, "No, Mike, we want to keep you." So, they say, "Hey, we'll match the salary and we'll give you some additional titles." And I became, let me see if I get this title right. I was the assistant to the vice president of research on terrorism, something like that. And so, but the most interesting piece is, I came from the Navy operational side of the house. I've got these researchers that are doing some great research for a variety of topics. They're experts in those little things. And they say, "Hey, this thing can do this."
Yeah.
And you look at that and say, "Well, the Navy really doesn't need this, but that technology can do this." I said I was a translator for them. I could translate what a PhD person did and take it over to an operator and say, "Hey, this is some pretty cool technology and we can use it to do these things." And so we are doing the same thing now with Virginia Tech. They have actually the National Security Institute in Virginia Tech that focus on electronic warfare, which is a big piece for ITA. They're focused on underwater operations, is a big focus for ITA. And so all those things, we can help bring it to the marketplace, because they don't understand business. They think business is easy, and business is not easy. It's hard.
I just completed a little degree program, and the difference between academic thinking about business and practitioner thinking about business is like man on the moon. And I mean, it's just crazy how different they think about it. It is very funny.
It is. Well, I tell it my story. This is how I realized a PhD are not very bright. Okay, so you don't have a PhD, do you? Because
unfortunately, I do. But yeah.
But it's funny. I had this guy when I was at ODU, run the Troops Teachers Program. I had a professor that he was in this group, and we were talking about recruiting military people to the high need school districts across the country. So you get a nuclear engineer from the Navy coming teaching physics and math at a high need school, across the country. It's a great program. And so, but this PhD looked at me one day and said, "I don't know why they're hiring military people, because they're such a homogeneous population." And then I realized the guy's an idiot. That's the thing we have in common is service to country, but the U.S. military, it's a cross country. It's a cross section of this entire country. Forget about race or demographics or city, rural. People come to serve their country, and that's the thing we have in common. But they come from all different walks of life.
Great. Yeah, you get a good old boy from Oklahoma, and you get an inner city person from Atlanta. You get a who knows what, right?
Yeah. And so, but he'd been in academia his whole life, and so he didn't understand that. So Jim, you've been out here in the real world, so I'm okay with
that. Maybe I'm the exception, right? But let's end on this, Mike. What do you do for fun? What do you do when you're not working 100 hours a week on ITA?
Well, as you can tell, I'm down in Nags Head, North Carolina right now at our beach house. Okay. And so Kathy and I love the beach. I love Virginia Tech football, as you well might imagine.
So every weekend you're there, huh?
Well, if it's a home game, we're there. And then voting. And so, but I the thing about running a company is you got to be committed. And even though there's Tina. Hi, Tina. Even though I'm working all the time, Kathy and I find time to break away and have fun. And so the other thing I do, I am my grandson's swim buddy. Okay. So this afternoon we're going to be in the pool and we're going to be swimming together. So my 2.5-year-old, and 30 years ago I did the same thing with my girls. Now I'm much more tired. At the end of the day, I'm worn out.
Yeah.
He wears me out. So
used to be you went until they were worn out. Now you go until you're worn out, right?
I had to go take a nap after play with him in the pool all day long.
That's funny.
But we find time to enjoy ourselves, and I love running the company, and so I got probably a couple more years of doing this, and we'll find the right person to transition, and we want to build a company and that grows. And I'll put a plug in for the CEO project. I talked to Julie last week, and it's been great for me because I look at Group 3.
Yep.
They got a great bunch of guys in that group, and I enjoy them, and they've taught me a lot. And I've called them off outline and talked about different issues. So it's the CEOs understand our problems, small, large, and I remember when I first started the company, we probably had a payroll like $500,000 a month, something like that. And I was down at Blackwater, and I was talking to a guy, and they had their payroll was like $20 million a month. And he says, I said, man, you guys, he says, it's mine are not as complex as yours. And he says, Mike, it doesn't matter whether it's 500,000 or $20 million. When you have people involved, it all brings complexity and issues. And so you just got to keep moving forward. And
nice.
It was a great piece of advice for me.
Awesome. Well, I remember how we got started. Your daughter came to me and said, my dad loves your book. You'd read Great CEOs Are Lazy. And that was the beginning of our relationship with the CEO Project and ITA. So I'm glad it's moved forward.
It's been good for me. I love the book too, by the way. I've given that book to several people in my company.
I appreciate it. Yeah, good. Well, hey, Mike, this was awesome. I really appreciate your directness. Fabulous business, and what a journey. It was great to hear the story. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Jim. Thanks for having me on today. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And we'll see you all next time on the Lazy CEO podcast. Thanks for joining us. This podcast is brought to you by the CEO Project. At the CEO Project, we work with CEOs to help them grow their business. And our members represent billions of dollars of revenue and profit. And frankly, amongst all of us, we've probably made every mistake in the book, including some you haven't made yet. So if you want to learn from the experience of a bunch of really seasoned CEOs, we're a great place to hang out. In this podcast, what you're going to hear are some of those ideas, concepts, and things that are just going to help you on your journey. If you want to find out more, reach out to us at theceoproject.com, or you can contact me personally at jim@theceoproject.com. Happy listening.
Thanks for listening to the Lazy CEO podcast. We'll see you next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes, and check out our website, www.theceoproject.com.